Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the main card fights for UFC 236, Holloway versus Poirier 2. But before we get to the main card predictions, I'm going to be doing something new, something a little bit different. I'm going to be awarding $20 to one person, but first, you must be subscribed to my YouTube channel. This one right here, King of Crackdown 5095. Secondly, you must also follow me on Twitter at King of Crackdown, just the same as my YouTube channel, except without the 5095. So at King of Crackdown. And third, you must have a Cash App, is that will be how I'll send you the $20. So if you do win. So Cash App is free to download and it will cost you nothing to get a shot at the $20. So free to download Cash App, free to enter this contest to win $20. So free all around. So now for a chance at the $20, you must post down below in the comment section your fight picks for the full card, top to bottom, not just the main card or the prelims, but the whole entire card. And if you get more picks right for this card than me, UFC 236, not UFC 235, 234, but this card right here, UFC 236, then you'll pass the first leg of this winning this cash prize. Then the second part is that you have to have the best picks within the comment section. So first off, you have to have better picks than me. Then you also have to have better picks than everyone else in the comment section. And if you do, then you'll get the $20. So if you have better picks than me and no one else has better picks than you, then you'll get the $20. So at least better picks than anyone that posts. Some people might skip over this right here. So if you just post it, you already have very much better odds than a lot of people who might just skip over this. But so lastly, don't post your picks vertically. Post them horizontally within the comments, like not the comments, with comments in between. Don't like post them horizontally so it's all long and this comment section all long. Post them horizontally with commas after every fighter name, and not their full name, just their last name. And also, your picks have to be put in before Saturday. So as soon as it strikes midnight and it turns Saturday, your picks are disqualified if you post after then or edit after then. Unless in the case that somebody pulls out on the day of, then you have to edit. But other than that, no edits made. As soon as the clock strikes midnight and it turns Saturday, your picks are void if you try to post after. Especially if you try to post after the event's over or during the event. Any edits made during the event, before, like on the day of the event, pretty much void. Unless there's an actual good case. But other than that, just make sure you have your picks in before the day of the fights. And you'll be good. Your edits made to the fight before the day of the fight. And certainly way before after the fight. But you get the gist of the thing. Like I said, post them horizontally. But now, last but not least, add 3 picks, the tiebreakers in which you'll pick the fighters. Like you pick the fighter, the method, in the round. So 3 picks, those are the tiebreaker picks. Because some people might have both be 9 out of 13 or 10 out of 13 or 13 for 13. But they might have the same picks. But for 3 picks, you'll pick the fighter, the method, and the round. Those are your tiebreaker picks you make. And only for those 3, you pick the method, the fighter, the method, the round. And say whoever has the best out of those 3 will win. In the case that y'all just happen to have all of the same things, y'all have perfect cards, y'all have the same tiebreaker picks, and all your tiebreaker picks are perfect, then the person who posted first will be the one who will win. So early bird gets the worm. So with that being said, good luck to all of you, and let's get on to the fight predictions. In our first fight on the main card, we have a rematch in the light heavyweight division, OSP versus Nikita Krylov. So when these two first fought each other several years ago, OSP beat Krylov via von Flue choke in their fight several years ago, and it was Krylov's debut in the light heavyweight division. Several years now later, present day, OSP is coming off at least 1 or 2 fight losing streak, or riding a 2 fight losing streak. Krylov just returned to the UFC, and he's coming off a loss to Jan Blachowicz. So he just returned to the UFC in his last fight, and lost, and now they're both trying to get back on the winning side. As far as how these 2 fighters match up, I really don't think too much has changed. It seemed like Krylov had improved, but when you really look at his wins and you look at his last performance, you see that in his wins, he was fighting mostly strikers. He fought Fabio Maldonado, a striker. He doesn't worry anything about grappling in that fight. The fight against Emmanuel Newton, mostly a striker, and that fight only lasted a minute and some change, so he didn't really have to work too much on grappling in that fight. In the rest of the fights, I really looked too much into them, but maybe he did this, maybe did that. But obviously the the Blachowicz fight, so that his grappling really isn't all that great or really that much improvement is. He was pretty much handled pretty easily on the ground by Blachowicz. Blachowicz took him down and just cut through his guard and maneuvered on the ground like he was like his defense was butter. He was just cutting right through it and was able to submit him rather easily. So I don't think his ground game has improved too much. In the last fight, it was like a Von Flue choke. And OSP might not be the most technical striker or the most technical grappler, but on the feet, he does got some power. He is athletic. And then on the ground, he's very top-heavy, and he's very good at weight distribution. So I think in this fight, OSP, even though he's on a downtrend, I don't think much has changed between these two guys. I think Krylov is going to try to, focus more on his grappling defense, given his last fight and that he lost to OSP via submission years ago, that he's going to not try to lose the same way, or at least not going to try to go out the same way. He's going to try to prepare for that more in this fight. He's going to put more emphasis in his training camp on that. So I feel like he's going to be able to survive on the ground if it goes in. I think OSP will implement there because Krylov is very unorthodox and you got to worry about him a lot on the feet. So I think OSP is going to want to use that range. Then on the inside, I think OSP is going to want to get him down and really take away that, for the chance for Krylov to land some wild, crazy, unpredictable strike to smother him, use his size, use his strength on the smaller Krylov, and try to just take him out of his element more so and take away the dangers, take away his tools. But I think Krylov can be able to defend well off his back for the most part and survive to a decision. I think it'll be still a close kind of fight. A lot of filling out, a lot of getting used to each other, getting to know each other again. But OSP is going to be able to use his advantages, smother him a bit, like keep him at range, and on the inside, smother him, use his strength, use that athleticism, use that top pressure, and just kind of take him to a decision. So in this fight, I got OSP via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the welterweight division, Alan Jouban versus Dwight Grant. So looking at this fight, Dwight Grant, very weird frame. I think he was kind of tall, got long gargoyle arms, got a lot of power, but a lot of load up, not the smoothest technique on the ground with his grappling or his striking. But if he does hit you, it could be lights out. But I think with somebody like Alan Jouban, who's so experienced with his skill set, I think he can just kind of freeze up Dwight Grant. I would say neutralize Dwight Grant. Because with Dwight Grant, it's like he's somebody that has a real good straight, a real good overhand. Well, he does have a good overhand, but something like really had those good shots that he can just fire them on you. But I'm trying to get to what I'm trying to say on this. But what I'm basically trying to say is that if Alan Jouban throws in volumes, it does, like in his last fight against the Dwight Grant last fight, I forget who he was fighting with, Pedersoli, I believe, Pedersoli Jr. Pedersoli was getting off on Dwight Grant, but then he started to throw blind strikes or blind kicks, which allowed Dwight Grant to counter him. But if Alan Jouban, with his skills and his knowledge, if he just can chain combos together, not just throw empty like one kick or without a setup, not set up his strikes, if he just keeps throwing at least two strikes or three, a combo and chain his strikes together, he should be able to freeze up Dwight Grant's overhand or his power shots. Because like I said, it's not like Dwight Grant has some real good timing for like a straight or nothing like that. Really, his shots are all big looping shots. So with those big looping shots, you throw volume, it throws them off and they really can't land. Like stick a jab in his face, throw 1-2s, then end the kicks off a combo, make him worry about defend the punch, then throw the kick. Then he should be able to have a good shot. And also, when he mixes those shots with the takedowns, I think Jouban has solid enough grappling and wrestling. I'm not saying he's a top-notch wrestler, but if he mixes in all these things together well, which I know he can, he should be able to throw Dwight Grant off, throw his timing off, and not allow him to land these big shots that for sure can change the course of this fight. Because Jouban does get rocked in a lot of this fight. His chin isn't the best, but I feel like him being in the position he is and in a veteran he is, he's going to fight the smart fight, knowing that the game plan is out there. He saw how effective Carlos was doing until he started throwing blind kicks. He's going to be smarter and want to get this win, so I think he's going to mix it in, freeze up his striking, neutralize the Dwight Grant's overhands and looping strikes, mix and takedown, and take him out of the element. It will be a competitive fight. I think Jouban's still going to get caught at some point in this fight, but I think he's going to be able to recover, secure some takedowns, go back to doubling up on strikes and throwing combination, throwing volume to neutralize that power and those looping shots, and coast himself to a decision. So in this fight, I got Alan Jouban via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the light heavyweight division, Eric Anders versus Khalil Rountree Jr. So looking at Khalil Rountree, I think he's on a 2-fight losing streak, 1-fight losing streak. His last loss, I guess you can't even say nothing about that because Johnny Walker is just looking like a monster right now, so you can't even say nothing about that. But still, Khalil Rountree is still basically the same guy. A lot of power, really poor grappling, poor cardio. If you can endure his power or just not even go deal with it, then you're good. You can take him down. Real good shot for you to beat him. If you can outlast him that first round, you got a real good shot to beat him. I think Eric Anders, it's solid enough. He's durable. He took a lot of Thiago Santos punches and really just lost that fight due to, even though I think he was losing the fight regardless, but really he only got finished because he took the fight on short notice. There was a lot going on, a high-paced fight with a lot of damage, and his cardio started to fail. He took the fight on like a week's notice or less, so he wasn't really prepared for that type of war, and he just kind of had fatigued and was gas drained. So he could take Thiago Santos, but I think Rountree hits harder. But I think Adesanya fight was a high defense. He fight was like, like the standard style, textbook type of style, high defense, pressure for, using his size, the fact that he wasn't like a trained martial artist, he was a football player. So he just used that size, used that strength, used that athleticism, fights with a very basic style, comes forward, pressure backward. And with his high guard, he should be able to defend most of Khalil Rountree's initial strikes because his defense is always going to be high. He's not going to be one of those guys with low hands and try to look sexy, look like flashy. Be able to block those shots, roll with those shots, evade those shots, and really stuck like this with the pressure, drain Khalil Rountree out of that first round. And then just over the fight, just work him and probably just piece him up to the decision. Like once he takes him out of that first round, he'll be able to land more shots, push him back, and keep landing shots and landing big shots and heavy shots of his own. And I see him winning the decision. So in this fight, again, I have Eric Anders via decision. Now to our co-main event, we have in the middleweight division an interim title fight between Kelvin Gastelum and Israel Adesanya. So looking at this fight, it has one of these questions I've always been asking ever since I've really been starting, like investing myself into watching MMA years back. Is like, how would these fighters that look so good against strikers in MMA deal with these guys that are actually striker, like pure striker, like they compete in kickboxing and boxing or Muay Thai versus these strikers that are just MMA strikers. Like Kelvin Gastelum, has he ever really competed outside of MMA? Was he a boxer? Was he a kickboxer? How would he deal with those top guys? Like really, when I first looking at like say like people like Aldo and Anderson Silva, like Anderson Silva was the best striker, like seemingly in MMA, but how would he really fare against real K1 guys, like the real K1 champions, the real boxers? How would he fare against those guys? He's good because he can beat these guys. But say one of those guys come over there and they get good enough takedown offenses, like maybe they can't beat a wrestler in MMA, but say and they're good enough to defend Anderson Silva's takedowns and just have a pure striking matchup with him. Would he be able to beat them, or would that be his kryptonite? Say with Aldo, like when Conor McGregor and Max Holloway. If he fights a guy that maybe other people could take down, but his takedown offense isn't good enough to take him down. So styles make fights, and they're good enough to keep the fight on feet with him. And you can fight a better striker. Would that better striker just have their way with him, or would they beat him? And I kind of see that in this fight. Well, really not too much in this fight, but still I kind of see it. I was looking at Israel Adesanya, a real striker, or a guy who really might even be able to be the best kickboxer in the world. If he just focused on that, kept at that, he probably could have been the best, the true number one kickboxer in the world if he would have kept at that. Because I'm not even going to go on to that, but he definitely could have. It's definitely a good shot, good chance, much more than these other MMA fighters who probably wouldn't even be top 10, top 15 if they went over to kickboxing or a pure striking type of sport. But basically what I'm saying. When I see Israel Adesanya, I see his height, his reach. I see him as a bad matchup for Gastelum. I see him as a bad matchup for Whitaker. Two guys who mostly got by being good enough to defend the grapplers in this weight classes, takedowns, exhaust them, then use their speed and striking to take advantage of them when they're tired. That's basically what they've been doing with a lot of these guys. With Israel Adesanya, they won't even have that effect because you're not fighting a wrestler who just going to defend his takedown. Then when he gets exhausted, you're going to take advantage of him. You're fighting a striker who's far more credentialed than both of y'all combined, with reach and skills that you guys really have never faced inside your professional careers and ever, probably not even in the gym. But to get to this prediction, I think with Israel Adesanya, he has so much reach, so much height on Kevin Gastelum, and he's so good at using angles and drawing combinations. And Gastelum kind of just straightforward. He relies heavily on that chin of his. He's like 5'9" versus a 6'4", 6'5" guy. He uses chin a lot. Defense not the best. And Adesanya's not gonna be there just standing like a Muay Thai guy, just standing straight up when you throw overhand right on him. He's gonna be moving, he'll be angling. And I really don't think when I see what in Adesanya's the weakness in Adesanya's defense is not a tool that Gastelum has in his arsenal. He might try to implement grappling, but we look at Gastelum's career, his grappling has never really been that great. I mean, it's good, but it has never been that great where he just goes out, takes people down, just manhandles them and do all the stuff. More so, his grappling comes into play when he starts to affect you on the feet. He starts to hurt you on the feet, either dropping you or rocking you. Then he starts to get takedowns. He's never the guy that just comes out there and gets takedowns and have success. And with Gastelum, I rather if I was fighting Gastelum, I'd rather be on like have a guard and like have him in my guard and stand with him because his real threats are him knocking you out, him using his chin to block his shots with his chin and landing big shots. That's the biggest threat with Gastelum. His ground and pound is not really all that. Submission game, not all that. It's his power in his hands. And the fact they come forward and he makes it a fight. Other than that, grappling not too much effect. So I think it's more going to be a striking match. He will try to implement that, But I think that's going to work against him if he tries it. I think Adesanya will be able to defend his takedown. And all that energy is spending trying to grapple is going to, make those arms heavy and leave him more exploited to get him picked apart at distance. He's going to get takedowns defended, exhaust himself, and kind of get done the way he's been doing other people. Like, because they get tired trying to grapple him. He's going to get tired trying to grapple somebody else because that's not his game plan. That's not what he does. He goes out there to rock you, goes out to throw hands. He don't go out there to wrestle. And when you go out there trying to grapple and do something you don't really do no more, even if you do train for that, it's not going to be what you're used to. You're going to be exhausted. Your arms going to be a little bit heavy. And you're going to get picked apart. It's going to be even harder. He's going to need that energy to get on the inside of such a long guy, such a mobile guy who's drawing so many different tools for so many different arsenals and controlling the distance and is controlling the complexion of the fight. I just see really Adesanya just picking him apart from a distance. Gastelum will be able to stick around. Will have his shot. Will pressure. But I think as fight goes on, that distance is going to keep increasing and Adesanya will maintain it better, set up traps and just pick him apart down the, after that first couple of rounds, first 2 rounds and third, it's going to really pick him apart. And then Gastelum's going to be torn up in that 3rd round. And I see Israel Adesanya just take him out in that 3rd round. So in this fight, I have Israel Adesanya via 3rd round TKO. Now onto our main event. We have in the lightweight division, Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier for the interim lightweight title. So we have yet another rematch. These two fought each other several years ago. Holloway was just 20 and Poirier was about 23. Holloway was just debuting and Poirier already had a name for himself. Holloway would come out there in that fight was guns a-blazing, was tearing Poirier up. And then Poirier, his big brother, picked him up, took him down, got him in a mounted triangle, and then turned that into a straight armbar from the mounted triangle position and got him out of there. Now these two are facing each other years later. So much improvement between both guys, especially Max Holloway. He went on to become, or he's currently the featherweight champion, got 1 defense. Poirier has been tearing up at 155, and this is his title shot. So Holloway already has his title. He's coming for his 2nd title, and Poirier is looking for his 1st. A lot of improvement from both guys. But how do I see this fight kind of playing out? Well, I see in this fight, I see Dustin Poirier getting reminded of his 145 days in the weight, because at 155, he's been using his 145 advantage. You see a lot of fighters going up and they're using their speed that they have and their technical advantages over the bigger guys. But he won't have that in this fight because the last fight he fought Gaethje and Alvarez, who are 155, has never been below. Now you got a guy like Holloway who's not, you're not going to have the speed advantage on. Holloway's going to have that speed advantage on you. I feel Holloway's the better boxer than Poirier. He's the longer guy, even though Poirier, I think Holloway's the bigger guy, even though Poirier is a 155er and has been at 155. Holloway still cuts a tremendous amount of weight to make 145. He's taller than Poirier, has longer reach than Poirier, will have the speed on Poirier. And like I said, I feel like he's a better boxer. But where Poirier's advantage lies in that he probably mixes it together, like his grappling and striking, or striking and his grappling better together than just about anyone Holloway has fought recently, really than anyone Holloway has fought recently. Because Aldo just struck with Holloway both times. Brown Ortega, he did try to mix it together, but it was like either one or the other. He never really mixed his strikes together to the point where you're worried about a strike coming, then a takedown's coming, or you're worried about a takedown and overhands coming. Ortega really was just doing one or the other. He didn't really mix it together that well. Aldo didn't mix it at all. Ortega really didn't mix it together that well, but that's what Poirier does. He does a very good job at mixing his tools together better than just about anyone in the sport. I'm not saying like number 1, but I think definitely he's probably in top 20. He's very solid at doing that. That's pound for pound. Mixing together strikes. Coming in there, a lot of pressure, solid boxing, ducking and changing levels for takedown. Pretty strong, pretty quick. And then on the ground, he's very savvy, whether on the bottom or top, at sweeps, reversals, submissions, heavy ground and pound. So he's a very dangerous dude for Holloway and presents a lot of interesting challenges. But I feel Holloway, he presents some issues that Poirier that can run, like I said, the speed, the power, that reach, that boxing. And we look at his fight against Alvarez, his 2nd fight with Alvarez. Alvarez was able to have success when he switched stances while throwing strikes that threw Poirier off. And that's what Holloway does. He throws a lot of shots where he's changing angles, switching stances while he's mid-combination. And Alvarez really was like pausing and throwing stuff, whereas Holloway's going to be relentless. He's throwing combinations. He switches stance. And while he switches stance, he's still throwing combinations and changing combinations and mixing things together. And that's going to present opening for Poirier. And I feel like Poirier's defense isn't the best. He has solid boxing, solid distance, solid all that, but he is very hittable. And with very hard shots, he was able to get hit several times by Alvarez. Even Gaethje was able to hit him with some clean shots. And Gaethje really just kind of, at that time, was just straightforward. He was still getting hit by shots, still open for shots. And with Holloway's speed, his reach, and his accuracy, he's definitely going to be able to get off on Poirier. I feel like Poirier's real chance to get off on Holloway is Holloway initiates or allows him to. Because really Holloway is really a hard guy to hit clean unless he wants you to hit him clean. Like when he let Aldo hit him clean to tire himself out, or Ortega, because he was just toying with Ortega. They allowed Ortega to land some big shots. Other than that, it's really hard to land clean shots on Holloway because his feet's always moving. He has a solid jab. He has so much volume that you get punched in the face so much that you really can't fire at the back. I feel like Poirier's box is pretty slick. He has some pretty good counters over the top. He will land some shots and land some good shots and have a good fight, mixing some takedowns. But I feel like Holloway's grappling has improved so much since the first fight that it really won't be a big issue in this fight. I feel like Holloway will be able to spring back up with his speed and his foot movement. It's going to be hard to get up under him to get these takedowns off. And if he does, it's going to be spring right back up. I think Holloway's going to use his range, mix it to the body, mix it to the head, change angles, land big shots, and just kind of wear down Poirier with the volume and the mixture of strikes at the different levels, definitely with the body shots, will lower the hands. But I think in the third round, he starts to tag him up. Then in the fourth round, he goes out there for the finish and gets Poirier out of there. A competitive fight nonetheless. Poirier would certainly challenge him a lot more than these previous opponents have challenged him. But I think Holloway is just like the marathon man, endless volume, a lot of cardio, solid chin. Really don't see real too many openings for Poirier to take advantage of. And I think Holloway could remind him of Poirier of his glass chin he used to have at 145, especially with that speed and that power and accuracy. Your chin might be decent when you get caught that clean, that accurate, that many times. You're going to get put away. But it's going to be a competitive fight nonetheless, much more than his last couple fights. But I see Holloway taken away, in the very first championship round. So in this fight, I have Max Holloway via 4th round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the main card of UFC 236, Holloway versus Poirier 2. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.